Hey, welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to be talking about what it's like to be a substitute teacher, a typical day. So I start my day at 6:30 in the morning. I live fairly close to the school that I work at, so there's not like a huge commute time. But I have to be there 8 o'clock. Students don't get in until 8:30. There is a gap between when obviously I have to be there and when the students come in. And so what I'll normally do is during that 30-minute time, I will look over the lesson plans that the teachers left, and I will figure out any like changes I want to make that are like minor. And what I'll do is make sure I've got everything down, make sure I can find everything where like the lunch menu is, because a lot of times you'll have to, when they come in, you're like, hey, today for lunch, for those of you that are having out lunch, these are options A, B, C, etc. And so then you know where the list is to like write that down, where you take attendance. And honestly, depending on what school you're at, they might have like a different software for like logging kids in. And if you're a sub and you're not like on staff, because I'll talk about in a second, there's two different kinds of subs, then sometimes it's just easier to like call into the front office and say, everyone's here except these two people. So then there's like less complications with like attendance, because you try logging in the software and you might not have even a login. It's just like one big mess. So you'd want to just call the front office and like they can put it in. But anyway, let me touch base on that really fast before I go on. There are two kinds of substitute teachers. The kind that you sit at home and decide, hey, I feel like working today. And then you look on the schedule to see like if there's any like open spots. That is not a full-time sub. That's definitely the more common type of substitute teacher, I feel like. I am the latter, where I am on staff all the time. So it's a 40-hour work week. And so I'm there from the beginning of the school day to the end of the school day, Monday through Friday, as if I'm a regular teacher, but I'm a substitute teacher. So I'm like their on-call live-in substitute teacher. I don't know if that makes any sense. So I'm there all the time. So I'll rotate from room to room. And some days I'm there in the same classroom from start until, the afternoon. Some days I'm in two different classrooms, and there's been some days sprinkled in there where like there's a couple people out and I just need to be in multiple different classrooms to like be hands-on if they have a few different difficult students. It just kind of varies, but usually it's just like the whole day is the same homeroom, or you'll be split to like two different classrooms. Now I will say that sometimes, even though the class day like starts at 8:30, I'll like let them come in like 15 minutes sooner, like as a whole class, like because everyone will be sitting outside the classrooms on the floor in like a crisscross applesauce where like they fold their legs crossed, and they're just sitting there with a backpack before the day starts. And I'll just have them come in sooner, because at the school I teach at, and probably like most elementary schools, they'll have cameras all over. They'll have cameras in the hallway and also on the grounds, and just for safety purposes, which is great. But because I know that there's cameras, I want to at 100%, like 24/7, look like I have my junk together. So I don't want to be the teacher that's letting the kids in at 8:35 nor 8:30. To be prepared and look like you've got your junk together, let them in a little sooner. So sometimes if a good deal of the class is already there, and this will vary depending on, sometimes it's like 20 students, sometimes it's 15, it just kind of varies. Sometimes 10. But what I'll do is I'll let them in at like 8:15. So I've already been there for like 15 minutes, from 8 to 8:15, looking at the schedule, making sure the class is like looking organized and pretty, and desks are down from the chairs, because at night they'll put them up there so the maintenance crew can like clean. But I'll make sure like their chairs are ready to go, and I will start at 8:15. And the teacher will almost always, and I think it's not even almost, I think it's every class I've been in, the teacher has left morning work for students to do, and that's just like a worksheet they can color and coordinate like numbers to colors and do fun artsy stuff. So they'll be doing that. So it's not like you're having to exert more effort or like brain power. It's just they're sitting at their desks coloring a sheet of paper for an extra 15 minutes. And in the meantime, if anyone checks on the cameras, you've got your junk together and you've already started class. So it looks like what you're doing. Just a side tip. So we'll go 8:30 start time, right? And then we'll usually go till 11. This could range though. So you're given a 30-minute lunch, but that 30-minute lunch can happen anytime between 11 and 1 generally. So some days you might not eat till like 1, and other days you'll have it at 11. And actually, there's been a couple of days where I've been an aide in a different class when like all the teachers are there. It's not a perfect day when all teachers are there and no one needs you to take over for their whole class all day. You'll just be like an extra set of hands in a classroom where there might be a few more difficult students, right? And so with those days, sometimes I'll have like a 10:30 a.m. lunch, which is really early, right? So it just varies. But there's a wide range there's a gap there. And so you just kind of have to kind of go hungry for an extra couple hours depending on what day it is. So you'll get a 30-minute lunch, but you just kind of have to play it by ear according to where you're at that day. And school ends at 3. Sometimes, depending on who you're covering for, you may need to stay until 3:30. Between 3 and 3:30, there's a period where all the students who ride buses will go towards like the cafeteria, the lunchroom, wherever that big room is in your school. And they'll wait there in their designated lines according to what bus they ride. And they'll need teachers to help with that. Not like the homeroom teachers, because they don't do that, but like the teacher aides, substitute teachers, those kind of on staff individuals. And you'll just watch the kiddos. And this just comprises you walking in a line back and forth and just making sure no one's doing junk, like no one's hitting another student, no one's like, pushing, shoving. They can't be standing, they have to be sitting, they can't be laying flat, pretending to take a nap times after school. Like those just kind of keep them in line. It doesn't take any extra like brain power or effort. It's really simple. But if you're covering for an aide rather than like a teacher's assistant, then they'll have after school duties from that 3 to 3:30 time. But if you're covering for like an everyday homeroom teacher, then they're not going to have any extra designated responsibilities after school. So then you just end at 3. So your day can go to either 3 or 3:30, just to keep in mind. And that is what a typical day is like for a substitute teacher. And I really enjoy it. It's really, really fun. And it's interesting because like some years ago, if you would have asked me if I'd ever be a substitute teacher, I probably would have said, heck no, because I feel like I don't really get along with kids sometimes. Or at least that was then, because like during that time, if you would have asked me a few years ago, it was like pre me having kids. And so it was just my husband and I. And so I was like the type of aunt that would want to babysit, I just wanted my own space. Don't ask me to watch your kids. Love them to death, but like I need my space. I was just like the kid personality. And now, after having my own kids and knowing how like fabulous and precious they are, I'm like, oh, I don't mind at all. Like it's totally fine, which is surprising. So in that sense, I think I've really changed. But it just depends on like your personality. If it's something you really, really want to do, each grade level has their ups and downs. And being a substitute teacher, it's given me this ability to see like, okay, I like this grade for that, characteristic, and I don't really like that grade too much in general. So it's just, you find out what you like and what you don't like. And so especially if you are going to school and you're, let's say, an elementary education major, or looking to get in the education world, and there's multiple degrees you can get at college within education, but let's pretend for this video that you're doing elementary education and you're like, I don't really know what grade I'm really gonna like. And you'll have to do some obviously internships during your course of getting your degree to figure out like what you really like. But substitute teaching is an excellent way to just get in the trenches, see what works for you. And then you might discover, hey, this is the wrong degree for me. I need to be in something else. Or maybe this is perfect. This is your jive. This is your niche. So it just varies. Now, according from like what state you may live in, you will have different requirements. So for me in Illinois, the requirement to become a substitute teacher is a bachelor's degree. They don't care what you've got your degree in. They just care that you have one. So you could have got your bachelor's degree in elementary education. You could have got it in political science. Mine was political science. You could have got it in general studies, in anything really. And you're fine. You just have to like fill this form to get like your certified like permission to teach as a substitute teacher, and then you're good to go. And that took 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks, took less than 2 weeks from this time I like filled out the form to when I got my like paper saying, yep, you are now sanctioned to be a substitute teacher. So it just varies. In Missouri, you have to have 60 credit hours of college to be a substitute teacher. That's So usually it's 15 credits-ish a semester in college. So 15 times 4, 60. So you need roughly like an associate's degree to be a substitute teacher in Missouri. So see what is in your state. That'll vary. If you don't need your bachelor's degree, then sweet. You can get a head start. I had to have a bachelor's before I could do substitute teaching here, but I didn't even honestly consider substitute teaching until I had long had my bachelor's degree, like years later. So, you know, I feel like it's a great job because especially if you have kids at home, you can still see your kids. And I did mention this in another video. Check out my other video, the pros and cons of substitute teaching. But that's one of the great benefits I feel like of the job, because as a parent, I'm like, oh, I can see my kids, know they're okay, and I don't have to watch them. So if someone else has that responsibility, which best of both worlds, and I know they're fine, and then I can get back to doing what I'm doing and make money doing it. So works out great. Works out great. I've had so much fun doing it. I work at a great school, and I feel like everyone on staff is super friendly, and like, I guess I technically don't feel like I'm like at the same level as a teacher, but I think that's more like an internal thing, like my own head, my own mind, and like the confidence versus the inferiority complex in my own head. But like, I feel like the teachers treat me as if I'm an equal. Like I make it a point to be like super friendly to everyone. I try to be like, hey, how's it going? Hey, and even if you don't get into chats, because sometimes there's not a lot of time to chat, but just to like let everyone know that you mean well and that you're kind. And like, you know, if you don't say hi and you walk by a teacher, you could accidentally give off the impression that you're like rude when you really aren't. And so I just make it a point to like make sure that I'm friendly to everyone, no matter what. So then like I've got a good reputation, and then I mean, who wants enemies from the get-go? Like you want to be friends with everyone, right? So I mean, you know, everyone's normal and kind, and it's fun. It's fun. I feel like it's the first job where I've felt like, wow, I'm not dreading Monday, and I'm not like, oh, thank gosh, it's Friday. Oh no, it's Monday. Like I don't feel that way at all. And that's like a relief. That's like what you hope for in a job, to like really enjoy being there. So if any of you are thinking about getting into substitute teaching, I am biased, totally will admit that, but I really think that it's a great job. It doesn't pay as much. So if you're in it for the money, you're not going to be making a lot of money. There's not a lot of money to be made in education anyway, like in general. So you kind of have to go into knowing that you either love what you do, or, you know, if you don't, then it might not be a good fit. But if you do like teaching kids and feel like you're going to make a difference, then it might be something to really consider. And I wish you all the best in your search for the best career ever. All the best. Bye.